are listening to WHOA Podcast, coming to you from Gainesville, Florida. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the WHOA GNV Podcast, the Coronavirus Sessions. My name is Collin. I'm your host, and my co-host is Michael Dees, and my co-host are the birdies in the background.
The three little birds.
They're so happy today, dude. They are so happy.
It's so funny that they know when it's podcast time. In our morning meetings, you don't really hear them too much, but when podcast starts, there they are.
It's just the story of my life, man.
You know.
So, how are you doing, dude?
Dude, it's funny because I'm getting like more and more excited as we start to kind of figure out, like I said last time, crack the code on how to better approach this, selling scooters remotely as we go through this. And it's cool because we've done a lot of work. Allison has done a lot of work on it, and it's exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting. We did a little run through of our little e-signature sales process today, and like definitely evolving. I'm super proud to see how the team has adapted to this thing, and super cool. Well, and this is gonna be a fun episode too. I'm excited to get into this episode. But before we do, let me give a huge thank you to our incredible sponsors. You guys have heard me say it again and again. Our sponsors make this show possible. So please support all of these great businesses. If your business has ever bought land, sold property, or negotiated a lease, you know why it's important to have someone in your corner who knows the market and delivers results. That's why you see so many Colliers International Gainesville signs around town. Colliers Gainesville has the most experienced commercial real estate team in the market, along with access to a global network of industry experts. Trust me, with one call, you'll know why so many businesses trust them. Check them out and learn more at colliers.com/Gainesville. Do you hear like the little Slack thing happening? That's the other thing with this remote
We're still working.
That I got I need to like learn how to turn off all my notifications because I got like little Slack and little text messages and iMessages and birdies. The amount of noise that our audience has to get through just to listen to the podcast these days is incredible. We'll know where their true focus is at. Am I right?
Yeah, I know you're missing the studio.
I miss the studio so much. I also want to thank Brian Aurelio and team at Brooker Pest Control. I want to remind you all that there are two types of homes in Florida, those with termites and those that will get termites. LOL.
LOL.
Brooker Pest Control has been controlling and preventing termites in the Gainesville and surrounding areas for years. Brian is a personal friend of mine. I absolutely love this guy and what his business stands for. I mean, like I don't know how much of our audience knows this, but he's somebody that I really go to, even for advice. He's in my greenhouse business leader group too. And like anytime that guy speaks, man, I just like zone in and listen. He's just got a wealth of knowledge. So, but you guys support Brooker Pest Control as well. You can call them at 352-378-2433. or find them online at brookerpestcontrol.com. Tell these great sponsors that you heard about them right here on the WHOA GNV podcast. That way they sponsor forever.
You can check out Brian's episode. I think it was episode 88. If you want to go check out the Brooker Pest Control episode, it was a really fun one.
Yeah, it was excellent. All right. Yeah, so thanks to Colliers Gainesville, Dan Drodos and team over there. Thanks, Brian, Brooker Pest Control and team. You guys are awesome. We really love you guys. And I am excited to get into this episode. We have my friend Emilee from Gainesville Harley-Davidson, baby. Emilee, what's up?
Everything and nothing. Everything and nothing.
All at the same time.
So,
yeah, I'm excited to be here. This is definitely going to be a fun half hour.
Yeah. So, why don't you tell everybody, your role over at Gainesville Harley, and so our audience knows she's in her office. And if you work in a dealership, you're going to have air guns and air ratchets buzzing in the background. That's how we do it in dealership life. So,
yes.
So
I am our marketing director and for this location. And then we recently took ownership of Tallahassee Harley-Davidson. So I'm the marketing director for both markets, and I focus on, our traditional advertising, engagement, selling the bikes. But then also in my wheelhouse, and something I'm responsible for is making sure that we're delivering the level of customer service that we want to be delivering, and that we are really building the riding community, because that's such a huge part of the Harley-Davidson brand, and specifically Gainesville Harley. So really, if you think about just making sure our customers are having the experience that they want to be having, that's on my desk too. So it's fun. It's great.
So you don't have enough work is what you're saying.
No, I don't have enough. I need to hire 3 people. So I'm looking forward to figuring out when we're going to do that.
So, Em, like, tell us a little bit about like when this really started going down, like this coronavirus and the impact that it's had on you guys, because, you know, you guys are an essential business like we are as dealerships with transportation. I would just love to kind of know some of those first steps that you guys took when all this started to go down.
Sure. So we actually, a majority of our leadership team was in Tallahassee when a lot of the restrictions and things started to go down. So that the week that, actually the day I think that we did the deal to own Tallahassee was the day that they closed restaurants for any kind of in-house seating. It had to be to go and pick up options only. But it was very interesting because Leon County and Alachua County were having 2 very different things happen. So what we did almost immediately is I signed up for alerts so that anytime there was a press conference from any of the leaders in either county or the state or the White House, that are you laughing at my hand movement? That I would,
No, I'm not.
I basically just sat through and listened to all of them. And then as soon as something was, deemed we were going to move forward, it was printed out, highlighted, and charted. Like, does this affect this dealership? Does this affect both dealerships? And then really just follow the rules to a T. I was back in Gainesville first, and that was when they started to restrict how many, 1,000, 1 customer per 1,000 square feet. So I had, I got all that together, and then I huddled the team and I said, look, these are the precautions and the cleaning things that we need to do to keep ourselves safe as well as our customers. And then these are the signs we're going to put up, and these are the tape marks we're going to have to, follow. And the team really fell in line. And it was interesting because, they shut Bike Week down on the last weekend of Bike Week, which there was thousands of people in Daytona. And so we had a lot of customers coming through that were coming home from Bike Week, and they would have been coming through anyways. But we really did have to take a lot of cleaning precautions because we had people from all over the country and international in and out of our dealership that first, 10 days or so. And the team really handled it like champs, but we made sure to have clear, easy, this is what you're responsible for. This is the schedule of cleaning. These are the precautions we have to take. And then we did the exact same thing in Tallahassee. But Tallahassee's restrictions are they're much looser than Alachua County's.
Yeah. So the reason I was smiling was because I was just thinking to myself that this exact same thing would happen to me. Like if I were going to buy a business or expand in some capacity, it would happen amidst a pandemic. Like it's just like Murphy's Law. Like that's definitely what would happen to me. So what's that? I mean, what was that like? Because what episode did we have Kevin on? We had Kevin on the show.
82.
And like there was no conversation of Tallahassee at that time, whether even, I don't know if it was a negotiation at that time or not, but like, it didn't get brought up in that podcast for sure. And then here we are, a few months later, it's like, oh, we got another dealership, surprise.
So, he as a leader really has handled this, I think, as a champ. He's been calm. He's been collected. If he had some expression, it never was front facing with, the whole team. Like if he was stressed about something, but really, his concerns were, okay, well, what can we do? What can't we do? He made some decisions to keep pushing forward and to keep serving our customers. And it definitely, of course, is slower, but our customers are, it's interesting. Our customers are relating to the pandemic in so many different ways. But if you wanted to make it a simple example, is 50% of the customers are, in their house. They don't want to go anywhere. They want to just, stay sheltered, do nothing. And the other 50% of the customers are in some way, shape, or form getting on their bikes and riding, because it is solitary. They're not having to touch anything. There's a married couple who ride their bikes. They actually have these videos about, how they get their gas and what have you and do it safely. And then they're doing picnics and just getting out and being, and for them, they're both retired veterans and they've dealt with PTSD. So for them, that is the answer during something like this. As a leader, I think Kevin did a really good job of trying so far to balance two extremely different needs of the customers. One that just, can you bring it to me? Can you, I don't want to do anything. Can you leave it at the front door? Can I drop it off? Can I, to the person that wants to still come in and needs a bathroom break? Because, Harleys are a great place if you're ever traveling to stop in and use the restroom. It's definitely been hard. I mean, things have been slow, like getting dealer titles and things like that. When offices are running on all the things you need to do to move a business into literally like owning it and processing the paperwork and all of that has definitely been much more of a process than I think if there was not a pandemic happening.
Yeah.
Is there I was going to say, is there corporate that gets involved that tells you from an organizational, from a marketing approach or anything, like this is the message, this is the tone, this is the thing that you have to have in place? Or is it pretty much just up to your leadership team?
So corporate is heavily involved in providing resources and they will recommend best practices, but because the dealerships are all individually owned by either a dealer group or a single owner, or there are like some car groups that are now in the industry. They all get to individually make their own decisions. So that's why when you go to Harley dealerships, they are actually so different in experience. It's not like going to an Apple store where, they all have the same, version of the iPad or what have you out, but your experience is going to be completely different. They're going to look different. They're going to have a different rewards program, a different tone, what have you. So corporate gives us best practices, but they don't force it. There are things though that affect us, like a plant closure will affect whether or not we can get a certain, part if there isn't, already some produce that we can order and bring in. Reduced hours for financing if we were to, not use a local bank. So they definitely affect us, and we, of course, affect them, but they don't mandate things.
Has your marketing approach changed throughout this?
Yes, absolutely. It's been really so when we purchased the whole entire plan to roll out the ownership in Tallahassee, it completely got scrapped, like literally just thrown away. Let's start from zero. And honestly, like what I had in mind at 9:00 in the morning was probably not what ended up happening at 2:00 that afternoon. And both of the dealerships have completely different experiences right now in regards to the way their customers are handling and experiencing the pandemic. In Tallahassee right now, when you go to Publix, there's no restrictions on how many people have to go in. 1 or 2 people might be wearing like consumers might be wearing like gloves and masks, but the only thing that's the same about Publix is that they have those suggestions of one way, like which way to go in the lanes. Whereas like here, I accidentally started going down the wrong lane the other day, Power Road, and this lady was like, "That's the wrong way." And I mean, I felt horrible, but like, our community is like really focused in on that, and I don't think one is right or the other. It's just understanding that both groups of riding communities are definitely experiencing the pandemic completely different, even though they're only 2 hours apart. So the whole plan has been scrapped, and the same for May. I just wrote the May plan yesterday, and normally we would be 90 days out trying to, be ahead of the game. And I think you have to be fluid with marketing no matter what, but we'd at least have like the big things figured out already. But no, I don't even know if what we planned yesterday for May is what we'll do going forward, because we have to wait and see what comes out of the reopening task force on Friday when they come back for the state.
So your showroom, is it open?
Yes.
It is.
Both of them are.
Okay. And so you guys have more space than we do, at least from a showroom standpoint. Our showroom is really small. It's like 1,200 square feet. And it's like the ceilings are low. It's a little bit tighter. I mean, we have a lot of service space and warehouse space and stuff, but like, so we had made the call to close our showroom. So, but I'm like really interested to kind of hear, how the customer experience in your mind will change for what you guys do, because the one thing that I know that you guys have always done is like a lot of events, like, barbecues, like come on out to the dealership, where there's been gatherings of people. And, it's funny because this morning in our team meeting, I'm telling our team, hey, I think the customer experience is going to completely change, where we used to have, bell ringing ceremonies for new customers and group pictures and high fives with every customer. Like, I think it's going to go completely virtual. DocuSign, e-signature, like buy your scooter online, have it delivered to your apartment or your home, like that's what I think. I mean, obviously we have a student market and it's gonna, so I'm just really kind of interested how you guys think your customer experience is going to change, not only in the immediate, but in the future as well.
So I think that is, I don't know that I'm 100% decided on what that looks like. I think there's a couple of things. I think for sure, no matter what, a consumer's shopping has changed. I think if you tried Instacart and you love it, you might never go back unless, you're just someone who loves, grocery shopping and looking at new products. I think there's a difference, though, for a business like yours and ours, and that's that students can go to college without a scooter. But if they have a scooter that they can zip-zap around and do fun things with and, don't have to fight for parking, you're really enhancing, I'm a college kid now, I've got a scooter, right? And so there's this emotional connection to having that scooter. Or, my sister had a scooter and now I'm going to get my scooter. And it becomes like when you got your car when you were 16 or however that is, right? And I think the same is true for Harleys. I mean, Harley's a really old brand. It's 117 years or something like that. I know it's over 150. I know how old it is. But I think, one of the biggest pieces that moves that keeps that brand alive after all these years is that community and experience based. So I don't think that will go away. I do think, though, it'll diversify us and let us be more available to meet customers where they are. So whereas we've always been willing to deliver a bike to a customer when they just come in, they have to sign the paperwork on site. And then, we take the bike to them. A lot of times if they don't have their license, if they don't have their license, we have to deliver it to them. We prefer, all of the other reasons, bringing the bike to them. So I think, we are doing that now, and knowing that that's now in the wheelhouse of our sales managers, I think it's one more tool to make the connection and the sale. I don't think that if we allow for all of our community-based engagements and events to go away, and we allow for them to stop, eventually at some point in time, it will be safe. At some point in time, we could have another big event. We could have our barbecue that has 100 people at it. I think that if we choose to make it fearful approach to it, then yeah, it will completely change. But I think that there's, I can't imagine that I'll have a big event again without a bunch of hand washing stations. I can't imagine I won't have, someone that their whole job is Lysoling the bathroom every, 30 minutes or so. I think there's definitely ways it will impact us, but I don't believe, my personal opinion is, I don't think that the fear of something should change when we want to connect and experience things as humans, because that's ultimately what that is. That's that emotional connection. Yeah. And you can't do that virtually. You can and you can't. So
yeah,
it forces all of us that have been meaning to get around to being more diverse in the way our products are reached. It forced us to do it. It's forcing us to figure out how to be even stronger.
Yeah, and so even from a sales process and being forced, that's why we've trying to get to a completely e-signature style. Mm-hmm. We don't have to, have the face-to-face interaction inside the dealership anymore. If the customer wants us to be able to send it to them and do it, completely.
Yeah, I don't know I hate to speak out of turn. I don't know all of the rules behind it, but I do know for the last 30 days, and then I'm pretty sure it's at least the next 30 days, the restrictions we had where the consumer had to be on site to sign for the funding and the bike have been lifted. So we can completely be touchless as well. And our service department is touchless as well. We send, we can go get the bike, we can service it, and then we can bring the bike back. We can wipe it down after we leave it in the driveway, and everything gets handled over the phone or email.
Do you guys see any Zoom calls or FaceTimes with clients who want to walk through your dealership but not necessarily be in your dealership?
So I think that would be awesome, but I don't know if our customers are, I don't know. I just tried this thing, which ended up being really cool. It was a virtual bike show. So normally a bike show, you bring all your bikes to the dealership, you set them up or wherever it is, right? And then you would go, there's usually a crowd favorite, there's judges. So I did a virtual bike show. The voting for it ended at, I think, the end of April. So, yes. I don't know what time you're airing this, so I didn't know how to say that.
I always get that wrong too.
It's fine.
Is it gone? Is it happening?
I can't. It usually releases a couple weeks after recording. So,
okay. So I'll just say it. So the virtual bike show, we did a virtual bike show, and we had 88 people send in their picture of their bike in the different classes, and the voting is like a 15-day period of voting, and we're halfway through it, and it marked, I think, 2,000 likes on the different pictures. And customers really, I was surprised so many of our older customers interacted. We ran it through Facebook, interacted and did that and uploaded their picture and sent it in, and then, and now are sharing, and it's great in that regard. So I think the more we test the waters with those kinds of things, the more next week we're doing some live Q&As with our service manager. And then we're going to do the same with our gear specialist about helmets and different things about, mainly, I think we're going to focus on staying hydrated while you ride, and the area you can have for that, because it's so hot in Florida.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think if we can start to get them engaged in those things, then I think we could really start to do like a virtual.
Yeah, it's great. It sounds like you're right on the right track. Sounds cool.
Now we just hope they come along with us. And it's not just me hanging out and thinking it's fun. It happens. Sometimes the ideas are not, you know how that is. Like you think,
I mean, you don't know unless you try.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless you try, and then you see like you're going to start seeing what sticks and what people actually engage with and like, and I think sometimes, Mike and I talk about this a lot. You have to kind of train customers on new processes and like say like, hey, what even we had groups of customers where something was the norm and they were used to this, and then we made a change and they didn't like the change. It was like, okay, like we want to be considerate to we don't want to like upset customers, but at the same time it's like there definitely has to be evolution in the stages of business, and you're going to have to make changes, and especially but like you said, when you're being kind of pushed or forced to because of government changes or what, like who knows, there's so many outside factors that can affect our businesses, and we as the leadership have to adapt, right, and pivot. And so I think you're on the right track. I love the idea of live Q&As, and
I think you guys have done some really cool stuff with I want to say it had something to do with maybe the battery life or storing just so you have done some videos.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that those kinds of, that would be a great way to interact and stay, because that's one of my biggest things is I would like our customer during all of this and this was a big shift, Mike, in regards to what our messaging was, is I really wanted to make sure, and I continue to want to make sure, that their motorcycle is still something that they love and brings them freedom and brings them, all the reasons why they invested in it, instead of it's the 2-wheeled or 3-wheeled machine in the garage that he or she has to make a payment on.
Right.
And should I keep making that, payment? Well, obviously, yes, keep making your payment, but is that where I really need to be investing my money? Because a lot of time, most individuals that have motorcycles, it's not in our area, it's not their sole mode of transportation. If we were in a dense urban area, it could be, but it's not. So I want to make sure that they still remember the value of the bike that they purchased, the investment they made.
Yeah.
That's why we get them excited through a virtual bike show or through, some other ideas we have coming up. We'll see if they like them too.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, I will give you like, I don't know how much live stuff you've done, and we got to wrap up in a minute, like literally, because I promised James I'm going to
Sorry.
But like, with live stuff, like I would advise the business audiences that are listening, like if you're going to do live Q&As, which I love those ideas and stuff, promote it. Like make sure you're promoting like, hey, we're going to do it at this date, this time. I think what gets awkward with live is like when you go live and then you have no audience and then you're like, you don't have anybody to talk to. And, so like, that's when it can kind of feel awkward. But if you like really promote it, and then at the same time, like live video, some of the platforms are iffy when it comes to saving the content, or it's not really great quality. So I always encourage businesses to have another camera recording, so that way you can record it, and then if you need to edit it later, you could edit it, or at least have a higher quality camera capturing the content as well. Therefore, you can, or so that you can like post it on YouTube or Facebook again later, or Instagram, or use it in other places as well. So that would just be my general advice for anybody who's thinking about doing more live content. Mike and I both have commented how we've seen live content really increase, on social media platforms over the last, month and a half, month and a half. So Mike, you want to final thoughts and wrap us up? Final question?
Yeah, I did have one final question, if I can squeeze it in real quick. I'm curious, just because like obviously we both work in the service industry, and sometimes I think it's interesting. This pandemic has caused us to, in a lot of ways, to have to be a little bit more patient. Amazon isn't next day anymore. Has there been an empathy level change with customers waiting for their bikes to be repaired or anything? Have you seen anything behavioral, any differences from your customers?
Oh, absolutely. Everyone is just really thankful we're open. They're thankful and patient that that we're even available. A lot of times that, we're running a little bit of a smaller staff on certain days, and the wait time is longer just to talk to, say, the parts or service advisor. And even when we started those, those 6 feet apart in line, I said, oh, you got to stand by this cone and that cone. And oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. And I was like, it's okay. We're all getting used to it. But definitely a real, I don't want to say softer side has come out, but just true empathy is a great word. I mean, just like, hey, I'm glad you're here. I'm not going to push it. Just let me know when you're ready to help or what you can do. And definitely. And seeing that through like phone calls and online as well. So.
Yeah, it's great.
Definitely one of those things I hope will stay when we get on the other side of this.
No, right? I agree.
One can wish.
I mean, it's just been so good. Like, I've even seen emails from people, customers being like, hey, Collin, we just purchased winter storage, doing this in order to like get you guys some cash now. Like, really hope you guys pull through this. And, with phone call, anytime I apologize for a delay, like, oh no, it's completely fine. Like, I completely understand. Like, we're all going through a lot right now. And just like, man, yeah.
One of my mentors, she works at Harley Corporate. I was saying that I was apologizing for a delay, and she goes, Emilee, I think you should just thank them for their patience. And instead of apologizing, everyone's going through this, just thank them for their patience. Yeah, and it was interesting. The first time I used that, instead of like, oh, I'm so sorry this happened or this was delayed, the gratitude that came back to them from them was really interesting. So I challenge you to try that.
Yeah, I will. Awesome. That's good. I love it. So, why don't you tell our audience where they can connect with you guys? Like, if you want to like practice social distancing, they can come in and buy a motorcycle and get really far away from everybody.
The best way to connect with us is through our website, which is GainesvilleHarley.com. And as well as giving us a call on the phone, because that's probably the easiest way for us to customize it. And that's 352-331-6363. Or you can, of course, reach us on Facebook Messenger or Insta. And it's Gainesville Harley on both of them.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I'm so appreciative of you guys. It's great to have another dealership that we can always bounce ideas off of. Kevin, he's always answering my emails and text questions. I'm like, hey, how do you guys do this? And I don't know. I just love being able to share ideas. And, I consider you guys family. You guys are awesome. So thank you.
We agree. It's very mutual. So.
Well, thank you guys for everything, and hang in there. Keep grinding, and, we will see you next time.
All right. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Yep. Everybody, world, this is the WHOA GNV podcast, the podcast bringing you businesses and individuals that make you go, whoa.
Oh, I'm supposed to do that. Whoa. I'm
supposed to do that. We will see you later. Bye.